Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah. My guest, Kanesia James, is here, and I am super excited to hear what she has to say. And you should too, because she is an astrologer and she's going to tell you the particular type of astrologer that she is. And so, Kanesia, take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this invite. It was such a blessing to meet you on my TikTok live
Yeah,
and connecting to help me, get my gifts up and get things ordered.
right?
And yeah, I am a multidimensional artist, astrologer. I'm a conscious creator and a catalyst for people to remember who they are. And I do this through different tools such as astrology, photography, graphic design, and art.
Mm,
And part of my passion is to really help people learn more about themselves so that we could all thrive because one person not in alignment, we all kind of feel the effects of that. So thank you so much.
I love that. I love that perspective because so many times, we see people that are out of alignment and we realize and we know that. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times we don't even attempt to even help them. You know what I mean? And that is something that I'm looking forward to shifting.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the people how you got started on this journey. I know you didn't come
Oh,
out the womb as an astrologer.
no, maybe in a past life.
All right.
But what what had brought my interest into astrology is over the years, I've always been somebody that very spiritual, but not really knowing exactly where this connection is. I definitely grew up in the church, used to sing in church choir,
Yes.
but there was always something that felt like out of alignment, but I would still definitely be connected to God, knowing like there is something higher than what we are navigating through.
Yes.
And as I, moved through college, then got into the real world. At one point when I was living in California, I was working at this beauty company and it was around my birthday. And I just had this urge where I'm like, no, I think I want to travel. And I'm like done doing this hustle and grind. And that specific day, I signed up to travel in remote year. And remote year was a program for people to not have to sacrifice traveling for work. So I signed up, and my job was even like, we know you're not going to, we know you don't have another job backed up. Are you sure you don't want to stay? And I was like, no, I'm going. So I ended up quitting my job. And what ended up happening is I still needed to have a job in order to be able to travel, to pay for the travel.
Of
And
course.
I ended up back in another job. And through this, again, the opportunity came around. And this time I presented myself. I said, hey, can I work and travel for the company? They said no. So I said yes to myself. I then joined this
Love
program.
it.
Yeah, and it was around this time. It could even be like to this day since we are having this conversation. It could be to the day that I said yes to myself. I had 4 weeks to book a ticket, to, have my last 2 weeks at work, to sell all my belongings, to sell my car, say goodbye to my friends. I also did not tell my mother anything because I didn't want any other influence to like stop me from the plan that I had in my mind. My
Yes.
dad was definitely helping me, but my mom was like, "What's going on? Like, why do you need X, Y, and Z? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I just need, like, I need my passport. What kind of blood type am I so I can get out of here?" I then flew home, showed up in the house, and my mom was like, "What are you doing here? You taking a mini vacation?" And I was like, "No, I'm taking a big vacation. I quit my job. I'm going on remote year, and our first location is Vietnam." And
Wow.
yeah, and she was like, "Excuse me." But I met all these people in Vietnam, and through that travel, we traveled to 10 countries, 12 cities in 1 year. And
Ooh.
through that, yeah, through that, so often people in my group would say, they would call me a witch, actually.
Oh, wow.
They would call me a witch. I was always that person that had essential oils. I'm praying on the plane before we leave, like
Of
asking,
course.
God and spirit to bless the hands of the people, the pilot, make
Yeah.
sure everybody gets to the next destination. Like I would always do these things, but like not really know what I'm doing. When people were sick, they were coming to me. But at that time, because I didn't fully know who I was, when they were calling me a witch, but then coming to me for advice or coming to me for this, that, and the third, it was like confusing. After that year, I ended up getting more into spirituality. I started learning about manifestation. And then 2020 happened.
Yes. Shut down.
It shut down and something kind of clicked. You know, I had an Akashic reading New
Oh,
Year's Eve of 2020, and she was telling me so much stuff that literally at that time it was still kind of going in one ear and out the other because she's like, you're going to help a lot of people, literally use the word, you're going to be a catalyst to help a lot of people get their kites off the ground. That was a visualization. But at
yes.
that time, I was still like, my toes are dipped in. Well, 2020 happened. I was diving much more. I started to learn about this woman. Her name is Krista Ryston, and she developed a new modality of astrology called Golden Age Leadership Astrology
Yeah.
that tunes into the true sky, the actual planets. And once I learned about this and it came into my awareness, I was like, oh my gosh, this has been the missing piece to astrology because of the fact that I always felt like my specific signs weren't so accurate,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
felt like when I'm looking things up, it's like there's something that's not right. And once I learned what is actually going on, I'm like, it was like my ears were actually tuning into that frequency because it was like
Yes.
I remembered like, oh, this is real. Even though I don't understand it, I know that this is for me.
Yes. That's it. That is, woo, that's such an amazing place to get to, especially if you've been, in a space where I don't know if you've ever felt like this, where you just really know that you're not from this place. You know that there
Mm,
has to be some other place, and you have memories even of it, but you don't often know that they are memories. So for
yeah,
you to get there is just, I mean, it's phenomenal because it's that space, you know what I mean? And even
yeah,
get what do you call it? Validation from the astrology, because
yeah.
that's how a lot of us have felt in a lot of these different rooms. Even like human design and even, so many
Mhm.
other things, the regular astrology, I mean, you just feel like you're out of place or out of alignment, out of joint.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt because, through my travels, even from when I was raised in school, like I was always around people where I was essentially the other,
Yes.
and I
Oh,
believe I
well,
shared this with you, where it's like I was also adopted. So I'm not only in this family where I feel like sometimes I'm the other, even though I'm very accepted in this family, but I'm in a school where, like, my mom worked in the school to make sure that we weren't treated differently because of the color of our skin,
yes.
right? And then when I went to college, it was still like I went through art, and I'm still like one of two Black people that were in the arts.
Mhm.
So it was like I'm constantly having a reflection of being the only one. Then when I worked in the corporate side of the world, I was still the one Black girl in the office. It's
Been
like,
there, done that. School, same thing. You're in
you
the
know,
classes, because if you're in the AP classes and stuff, it's you and probably two or three of your friends, and everybody else don't look like you. And yeah, yeah,
so literally going through my whole life feeling like I'm different, I'm different, I'm different. I'm not supposed to be here. I would look up at the sky all the time and be pointing out certain, constellations, but like still not knowing like what my interest is with that, right?
yeah,
But discovering this has really been so freeing.
yeah,
So the astrology that we know, tropical astrology, it's based on like the 12 zodiac signs. It's all even degrees. It's Western, very mainstream. It's kind of keeping us in like these personality constructs. Sometimes
yes,
people feel like this is my sign and this is the reason, da, da, and it's just like that's part of the program. Of
yeah.
course, you feel like those things.
That's so real. Talk about that.
Yeah. So with tropical astrology, as you know, with the Gregorian calendar, they've shifted time to try to control how we navigate with the natural cycles of the earth,
Ooh, ooh,
right?
ooh. So much control and manipulation.
Period. It's like if we even think about December and January, these are technically in winter months. We're not supposed to be starting new projects. We're not supposed to have all these, what are they called?
New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, the resolutions, New Year's resolutions, when people are going gung ho for the first 10 days and then they fall off
What
because
am
they're still, yeah, they're still
I?
in a process of hibernation where it's like, what is it that you really want to be building and creating? And if we follow the actual cycles of the earth, we would notice that now is not the time to try to start something new
Yes.
if we pay attention in that way. So back nearly 2000 years ago, the sun used to be in alignment with Aries during the fixed seasons of Earth, but
Hmm.
it hasn't been in alignment for nearly 2000 years. And every 72 years, this makes a huge difference because of the precession of the equinox and the Earth's wobble.
Wow.
Yeah. And because of this, the planets that you know in your birth chart tropically is going to look completely different in your sidereal chart. And
Yes.
they're missing a zodiac.
That's right, because it's 13, right?
There's 13. And again, it's like if we actually pay attention to the actual cycles of the earth, if we were to have, if we, well, yeah, if we were to go back to having 13 calendar months, we'd be in alignment with 13 moon cycles that we do have. And if every day, every week was 7 days, Sunday through Saturday, it would all be even. It would completely be even for all of us if we actually started our cycles with the earth. But they've shifted things and added a day or two onto the 28 day. It's crazy.
I was gonna say, why do you think they did that? I mean, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, the reason why I think they did that is because
Same reason they did religion.
you know, outside of ourselves, chasing outside of the cycles of Earth, then we're not fully in our power. We're not able to release at the time that we desire to release. And this ends up being the thing that is holding, they don't want us to be connected to our power. Like at the end of the day, that's the reason. So, when we're talking about moon cycles, this past eclipse was actually in alignment to tropical astrology, but it was off. And with the degrees being off, it's if it was in, let's say, typically, if this would have been soon Libra, then they would have said that the moon was in Aries, which this energy could relate to people needing, they would maybe say that people need to take action on something, that they need to go, 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 essentially. What's that thing you want to start? What's this, but instead it would be in a Pisces energy, which is again where we need to really turn within and dig things up from the water, wherever we are still hiding. What are those emotional wounds that we are keeping below? So they keep pushing the energy so that we're paying attention to this thing instead of this thing that's right in front of us. It
Wow.
just keeps us out of our power.
Right. That is, oh my God. If you think about all of the ways that we are controlled and manipulated and brainwashed, for better, lack of better words, in so many different areas, and you wonder why the earth feels like it's off its axis,
Hmm.
because we have all of this, you know, and all of that is chaos.
Yeah, and that's you just touched on a very important part. all of it is chaos, and that's the thing that they are getting us to believe in. So if they are projecting an energy that's not actually available to us, and then we have an emotional response to that thing, we then essentially project those timelines, right? And then
And
gets us paying attention to something that actually doesn't really have anything to do with us. You know, they're using astrology so strategically. It's been blowing my mind over these years to really see how they're using it. It gives me chills because I started to notice for myself that when all of these catastrophes happen or distractions, distortion, all these things that show up, I look at the sky where the planets are and I'm like, I see what they're doing here. And then I know not to get emotionally involved in it, but I could see it for what it is and be like, oh, that's what they're trying to do. Continue to focus on my goals, my dreams, my aspirations. How are you choosing to show up? Because sometimes they get us paying attention to something that is happening in a completely different country instead of what our mission is.
that part, I've been actually, somebody asked me about something one time, and I said, you know, that has nothing to do with me. I said, and I don't really know a lot about it. I said, so it's not a subject that I'm going to speak on. I said, so what I'm going to do is allow those people to do what they do. And I'm
Hmm.
going to do what? I'm going to do what I do. And I'm going to focus, I'm going to keep my focus right here where I am, in my space, doing the things that God called me to do. And
Literally.
that's what you have to do, because it's like so many things. I was looking at something. If I get anything else about what's going on with Diddy, I really just don't give a shit. And I don't want, and like I said, I pray for, the situation, because I think that is horrible that, how they do another, black men, that same stuff that, other people are doing, you know, you want to crucify him. And so I
Hmm.
think that's horrible. And so I pray for the situation, but I can't get involved in that stuff. I don't really care what Kim Porter had in her book. I don't care. you know,
Period.
Period. And to me, those are distractions that, some of the type of distractions that they put out there to keep us from looking at what's real.
What is, yep, right in front of us. You know, the other day, some people had asked for me to read Diddy's chart. And just, I went to Google his birthday and then saw that he was tropically a Scorpio. And I was like, I cannot, because the shadows is exactly the things that are coming to light for him. And I was just like, he did it. I'm feeling it in my body. And I felt like I was on plant medicine. I was like, oh my gosh,
Well,
like,
and I don't think that there's a question that he didn't do it. The thing is, I mean, how
what are
long
they
did
getting
it
you
take
to
them to
pay
get
attention?
Weinstein, right? Same,
Period.
same thing.
Period.
Same
And
kind
that's
of,
the thing, the timing. The timing when these things come out, it is so clear.
mhm,
I mean, right? This is the year that there's also an election. So, like, what are we doing?
exactly.
What
There,
are we doing?
there's
But if we're paying
always that.
attention out here, we're not focused on ourselves.
Yes. That's what
And it's
somebody
not to be, yeah, and it's like the focus on ourselves is not to like not care about what's going on out there, but the more of us that are attuned to like, actually, that's not my business. That's not my purpose. That's not my mission.
I'm so sorry, but I don't think that had anything to do with me.
Period.
God, look, God didn't bring that in front of me to deal with. So I'm going to, pray for that situation, that God surrounds him with peace and love. I said, and we're gonna move on with that.
Period. Because there's always something else going on in the background. And that's the thing, like during what it was the Roe versus Wade a few years ago, and they made this decision. And the week up to this, I had terrible cramps. And I'm like, well, I've been doing all this healing work. So, like, why am I cramping like this again? And by Friday, they made the decision. By Monday, I started to see everyone talking on social media that it was cancer season this and cancer season that and da da da. And I was like, oh, they are using the astrological timeline to mess with the womb of women. Cancer and Capricorn are the two most distorted zodiacs,
Yeah.
and they bring balance between divine feminine and
Yeah.
divine masculine.
Yes.
And it's like when you see it like that, and we were really in the Gemini portal, so it's like, what is the narrative that is being at play? I
Yeah.
remember at that time, I was very much in my little fiery self. I'm like, I think that they give a about these kids, about people having babies and not having babies. They can't even take care of the ones that we have here now.
And they're killing them.
Kill.
You look around left and right, and you've got, this. They put this one and locked them up in a barn, and didn't feed them, starved them to. I mean,
Hmm.
all this kind of stuff, and it's like, so that's not the agenda. And I told some of my other friends that don't look like us. I said, this is about y'all. I said because
Ugh,
these people are scared that it ain't gonna be no little babies that don't look like us coming out, because it ain't. Because you got
yeah,
kids like my grandson and many, 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 many others, and that's what's happening
yeah.
because the kids ain't caring. They loving who they want to love, doing what they want to do, and they don't care about that.
Yeah, because they know, they remember way more. They remember who they are here to be,
Yeah.
who they're here to express. It's
Yes.
like I would even like I'm getting a little chills because I feel like the kids these days would probably be more in alignment to their true sidereal birth chart.
Yes.
It's like they're not getting distracted by all of the games
Yes.
that we have been kind of navigating through.
Yes. The Matrix.
No, exactly. Navigating through the matrix and believing, believing the story,
The
believing these things that people have told us for so long.
Yeah. And it's like eyes are opening. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, eyes are opening. I said, because we're seeing things.
Hmm.
I said, and the more we see, the more distractions they try to pull out. Just all kinds of crazy
Hmm.
stuff. They're eating the dogs and the cat. Oh, did I say that?
You got everybody dancing. It's like
The little dogs and cats looking up like,
they ready to hurt the TV screen, like because they're conscious too. They know what these people are saying. They're like, no, you not today, not on my timeline. Straight up, But all of these things again, sometimes we look at even the distractions as like, some people can be looking at them as like a bad thing. But the
mhm.
distractions, the only reason why they keep creating more distractions is because it's waking more people up.
Because if you hear that, it's like, and you actually have an ounce of sense. I mean, and you haven't drank the Kool-Aid and you're not brainwashed, and and you don't look at this dude as a second coming or whatever, then you're gonna see that just don't make no darn sense.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And that is something I'm honestly so grateful for. Like back in school days, my mom would tell people like, "Oh, she's not mean. She just has a no bullshit monitor."
Love it. I think
And,
it's perfect.
like I don't even think I understood the extent to that, but it was almost like the more and more and more I navigated through life, when 2020 came around and I still wasn't like full deep into my healing journey, when they're telling everybody, oh, you need to go home because of X, Y, and Z, I straight up was like, I don't know what this thing is. I do not consent to it. It does not get to be a part of my life, and I'm not going home. Period.
So you didn't go.
I did not go. I continued to live in Indonesia for 2 years.
It was probably better.
I still to this day thank you, Bali, for nurturing me for those 2 years because I did not experience life the way that the rest of the world did.
Yeah, because we went through over here. It was
I
something.
know.
And I wasn't even one of those people that could stop working. Me and my husband worked all through it because we were essential workers
Hmm.
all through it. Like I actually went part-time though at that time because I was like, I can't probably do this. And plus, it was working a sister too hard. I'm getting too old. I
Yeah.
ain't trying to work like that.
You're not getting old, you're looking young,
I'm
but
getting
I
younger,
understand the
but
work.
I choose
Yes,
not to do that. So I said,
exactly.
yeah, but so we didn't get no break, nothing like that. My kids, hell, they lived on unemployment for almost a year because they were, hospitality people and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we ain't getting nothing. We worked all the way through. And then when we moved from Arizona, right in 2020, we moved here.
Mm.
In the middle of, smack dab in the middle of the pandemic in May of 2020, we moved here. And I was telling my husband, I said, like he's off now, he's taking some time off because he needed it. And I said, we moved here. We moved on May 15th. He started work on May 18th.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I was like, so I told him, I said, you never had a break. You never had a break. And then he was working in COVID units.
Mm. Mm.
So I was like, wow. So, when you think about all that stuff, it's like, dang, and for you to have be able to navigate it in Indonesia, they didn't even have all that going on, did they?
I mean, there was a point in time where like they shut things down for like maybe a month, and then we had a curfew, and the curfew was really so that the people that started like stealing, there was a curfew, so they couldn't do that. And then, I mean, they were still open, to be honest. People were still able to get into the country because sometimes they like money, and not even sometimes, they like money.
Uh-huh.
So they were still operating as normal. There was definitely many businesses that did not survive, right? Like some of the tourist areas, it was like nobody was really there except for the few shops that were able to last. But in general, it was truly like being able to go to the grocery store and like not have a mask on and just, you
That's
know,
yes.
like
Because that was
that.
annoying to me. And I still, honestly, even to this day, I'm still thinking, okay, we all wore the mask, but we still got COVID. And I got it, and then for me, it turned into long COVID. So I've been dealing with it for about
Mhm.
2 years now. And
Wow, 2 years.
yeah, I'm slowly, like my memory is still not where it was. I don't know if you heard me tell
Mm,
on the live. I was like, I just can't, I don't remember shit,
yeah,
but in that's
interesting.
it. Yeah.
So I'm curious, with COVID kind of messing with your memory, did this also open up other gifts or activate other gifts
Uh,
or amplify them in a way?
I feel like there was a portal because in this journey, I feel like, and I hate to say this because my husband's like, don't say it like that, but this is how the people would understand it. The people. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I really like I knew God before, but I feel like I really started chasing after God because there were so many times. Like I went to the doctors more times in the last 2 years than I've been my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had so many things happen that I don't have any diagnoses for. Like my stomach has been hurting for almost 3 years. I ain't got
Mm,
no diagnosis yet. I've seen the stomach specialist. I've seen naturopaths. I've seen everything you name it. I've seen them, and I've done tried all kind of different things, taking different supplements, blah blah blah. Because I don't take anything regularly like medicine.
mm-hmm.
And I did all that. Like I don't know, 3 drawers full of supplements down there. And so I've done that and taken that. I've done, energy work. I've had Reiki done. I've you name it, I've done it. But
Mm-hmm.
it was I think it was a place that I had to get to because for one thing, I was not trying to come off my job. Even though I was miserable in it, even though I had been burned out, I was burned out for about 12 years.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, but I
mm-mm.
kept going to work. I would just, if it got too much, I would find another thing, go to another place, find another place. It's funny, I was at an interview one day and the lady was like, so you had like 6 jobs since you've been here. I said, really, probably more, but I don't, remember all of them. I said, but I don't, I'm not a person, I'm not going to stay. I mean, if it's crazy,
Yeah.
I'm not that person. I'm not that loyal. I said, I have, I'm a commitment phobe.
Where is that in your birth chart? Is that Sagittarius?
You know, I am a
Sagittarius
commitment
wants to
phobe.
travel, or
Exactly.
Aquarius.
Right. No, I got to know. So I just, but it's been a journey where, I really feel like in a lot of ways, I did start really coming into the mediumship gift that I have. Like I already had it and I
Mm.
knew I had it from a child when I was a little girl, all that kind of stuff. But I had asked God to take that away because that was so scary to me. I was a
Oh,
little,
wow.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would see dead people, like, but not in the typical way or the way
Hmm.
most people say. I would see them like, say, like my grandmother was a person that she was a pastor. And so we always went places. I was always with her. And so we went places to see different people. People would call her to come pray for them, this and that, all this stuff. Or we'd be in little churches. She would do little prayer healing services and stuff like that. We would go and,
Hmm.
pray and stuff. And so I would go with her and we would see people like say I'm sitting here talking to you like that. All of a sudden I get a flash in front of my face and I see you in the box and whatever you were buried in. And what happened is when
Hmm.
I would go to the funeral, I would see them in the box and they would have on exactly what I saw in the little vision, and sometimes it was not even people that, we knew were dying, like on
Mm.
hospice or they didn't know or something like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And that's
Yeah.
what really scared me because like the old people, I didn't really have a problem with because I mean, I knew they were going to die, it was their time or whatever. But, other people, it's like I seen one of my church members one time. Matter of fact, this was when the thing came back online for me that way. Because I asked God to take it away. And so for years I didn't deal with it.
Mm.
Doing a program, I was working in my church and we were doing GED prep program. And so I was teaching, I think math or something like that, because I love math. So I was teaching
Hmm.
and working with this girl. And honestly, girl, I sat there and I looked up at her and all of a sudden I seen her in the dang long box. And I was like, so I just breathed through it. And then I did what my grandmother said, because by this time my grandmother was gone. But I did what she
Hmm.
said. I prayed, and I asked God, if I was supposed to tell her. I never got a thing, saying that I was supposed to tell her. So I just prayed for her. And sure enough,
Mm.
she left us. And she was young.
Wow.
Yeah, it was something.
That gave me chills.
Girl. So I was like, okay. So now they started opening up and actually just showing up sometimes. Sometimes I
Mm.
see them, I had to tell them, leave me alone while I'm trying to sleep. But they just started showing up, like coming, different ones, like I saw my husband's father, which they don't have
Mhm.
any pictures of him. Never met him. Like he died way in the 80s. I've never met him. They don't have no pictures of him. Don't none of them like him.
It'd
But
be like that.
right, but he showed up and I described him to my husband. My husband was like, that's him.
Mm.
And that was a little bit of something for me. But I could tell that through this time because a lot of time, like I was out of work like a whole year. I didn't work nothing.
Mm.
Now I'm working on calls, so I work here and there, but that's actually shifting and moving too. I can see it.
Mhm.
But it was a thing. So it was like I was pulled away. Like I got fired in Arizona for the first time in my life. Then I went, and I was like, okay, well, this is okay. I started going through the awakening then where I met, my first one of my teachers. I say my second teacher because my first was my grandmother. Because I
Mhm.
really believe, even though she was a Pentecostal pastor, she was my first energy healer. And so I was like, all right. So I met my teacher and he was able to give me some medicine and some magic and share with me and open up the magic for me. So that was a time I was out of work for 2 months, which never happened for me ever. I've never been
Mhm.
that. And so, that was a period. And then when this period came when I got to the long COVID, it's like, okay, I had a choice because to be honest, I
Mhm.
couldn't do anything. I mean, that thing had me
Mm,
so exhausted that, I would have days when I could not get up. Like I
mm.
literally would just either lay in the bed, or if I got
Wow.
downstairs, I would be laying on the couch. I just couldn't do anything. And I was like, oh my God, and I couldn't remember nothing. I mean, I thought I had early dementia. That's how bad that thing was for me.
Oof.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wow.
So now it's like, okay. And so I can see, some different things happening, but I knew that it had to happen like this as it
Mm.
started happening. Because for me, I got to get slapped upside my head. I can't just
Ooh.
no, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't know if
Hmm.
you saw this short. It was on, I think it's on Facebook, but it was a clip where the girl was sitting there and she was going, now God, I met this, I've been going out with this guy or dating this guy for 2 weeks. Is he the one? And then in her voice, God says, no, he's not the one. And then she said, but you didn't let me finish. She said, I told you, no, he's not the one. And then she went on again. And I said, this is exactly what we do. I told
Yep.
you he's not the one. So you already got told, you got showed, and now they're going, right?
Period.
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 Yep. That's exactly like, look at me. I'm like, I'm feeling it right here. That's why I'm tuning more into my sidereal birth chart because that right there, there's still been some things that I feel like I'm avoiding a little bit because
Yes.
I'm like, is this really like, am I really that person that's supposed to be doing this thing?
Yes.
And choosing to, well, being able to read it in my birth chart and then really trusting that it's like, well, how many times do you need to go through this? I tell my friends sometimes, I'm like, I really don't believe I need like a near-death experience for me to like do the thing,
Yes.
you know?
And
So I'm doing my
hopefully you,
best.
you won't
Just,
allow that to go there, because that's the thing. It's like, okay,
yeah.
God's going, okay, well, I want you to go over here and do this thing, take care of these people, handle this
Hmm.
stuff, but you over here doing some
Yep.
other stuff.
And every single time, I mean, over these last few years, the more and more and more I learn about my own path and purpose, it's like when people drop out of my frequency, I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting. I'm like, oh, okay. They're no longer in alignment.
Yes.
Because then I also know that God is going to bring even more people in alignment to my purpose and my path.
Yeah.
Every time. It's
Yes.
like one person, literally one person. I remember 2 years ago, I had just done an ayahuasca ceremony, came back to Mexico, and now I landed in Tulum. And again, this was just after this ayahuasca. I started to get, my spirit guides were asking me to read people's chart, and I'm like, still like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, like, I don't know, me, I learned astrology to learn about myself. I wasn't trying to read anybody else's chart.
Right.
you know? So I started to like dip my toes in that. But then I came to Tulum and people were having a love ceremony. I was taking photographs, and every single person there was a healer, an oracle, a medicine person, a shaman. It was like I was literally reflected with all these people who are me. And it was like that one person left my frequency and now I have 10 reflections of who I
Yes.
am, even when I still did not fully know. This one woman was like, how are you contributing to the world? Like, what are your gifts? And I was like, I don't know. And she looked at me, she said, don't you ever say those words again. She said, I only sit at tables with the most high, with oracles. And I'm like,
Look,
heard.
look,
And then it was the next day
got
where it
it.
was reflected. I'm like, I see. I see.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you started it so young is what I'm just like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Because I mean, I think about it, I'm like, if I had been on this journey, in my 20s, my God, where would I be today?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think sometimes it's like my parents or the reflections of like elders, because I've always been somebody that was around elder people. Like
yeah,
when I worked at Walmart, I was always hanging out with the older people. When I was in school, I'm the one talking to the janitor. The janitor used to bring me food. He was so wise and so kind, and like I
they
have always
really
been that
are.
person. Yeah, like I'm just always that person that's seeing everybody truly for who they are to the best of my abilities, and like not seeing what they're doing or how old they are as like, oh, it's not good enough for me, that type of thing. It's like, no, I actually love sitting in space with elder people, but also having all these different reflections and whatnot. And I see sometimes even with my own parents where I would ask my mom, like, what is it that you want to do? And she'd be like, I don't know. And that sometimes would like break my heart because, there's so much more that we all could be doing. And it's not my job to try and change that. But it's like, oh, I sometimes do wish that my parents had a desire to do something that's the most in alignment to their time here on earth. And maybe they're perfect where they are, you know?
Well, they don't often know.
Exactly.
We especially, generational, because I know that my parents are boomers. And so I know that they are from a different generation. It's
Yeah.
taken my mom a little while to actually, embrace all these things that I do, instead
Yeah.
of, oh, you need to go get your nurse practitioner. Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't. I need
Be
to
like, I'm already a healer.
yeah, like I need to exit that system. I am so over it and it is okay. But it
Hmm.
took a long time though for her to, come around to that instead of, how she did it. Because my mom is a nurse, been one for 50, I don't know, 50,
Hmm.
53 years, and it's like, no, that's not for me. I've
Hmm.
served in that capacity. And so now it's time for me to release it and allow other people to come and do that if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah.
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 But
And
it's a thing that they don't understand a lot of times. And
yeah,
they have to get there, and a lot of
1,000.
times they don't have the desire because it's not how they were conditioned.
Hmm.
It's like us, we were conditioned. I'm Gen X, so we were conditioned to work. It's what we were conditioned to do. We weren't
Yep.
conditioned to think about it. We were conditioned to work. Go to work, you know, go home, pay bills, do it all again the next day, keep on doing it. Hopefully, at some point in the year, you might get a holiday, a vacation, that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. And so these are ways that we were conditioned. And so many, and the same thing, like I said, you see a lot of, I've been noticing a lot of boomers are waking up now. And it's because of a lot of us kids
Yeah.
talking about it and telling them, hey, you can, like I tell my mom, like, you can retire. You don't have to continue to work like you do,
Hmm.
but then the other part is for me is, honoring her in the way that if that's what she wants to do,
Yeah.
supporting her in whatever way I can.
Period. And that is exactly the learning process too, through
Yes.
like spirituality. It's like I know in 2020, I'm like, Ma, Dad, like, don't do this, don't do that, da 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 da. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? And then it just, there's times where I'm like, Mom would get very heated, and I'm like, Ma, this is what they're trying to do. Like, where I'm like, I know that this is what they're trying to do, so I am not feeling any type of way because of this conversation. I'm just blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it was just like, no, it is not my job to wake everyone up. I just need to keep being me and keep doing this work, and it will do the work on its own. So now, I mean, my mom she tells me about her wellness. There's an event that happens every year. It's like a wellness weekend, and she goes and get her crystals, and she'll do some meditation sometimes,
Oh
and like,
man, that's what's up.
ugh, that gives me so much joy because
That
I'm
is
like,
so,
okay.
see, so you are the change that you wanted to see.
Exactly. And
That's
it
so
doesn't need to
amazing.
be at my level. Like she's definitely received an astrology reading, and yeah, it's been yeah, kind of rewarding when you just step back because through your change, you are changing your family. And so many times we see people that are like, oh, well, my parents won't listen, and this, that, and the third. And, I want them to live a better life. And it's like, but we're judging how they're living their life. Like maybe they're living the best life ever. Who are we to say what level that they should be at?
The thing is everybody, I think once we get to a place where we decide to accept everybody wherever they are, and that to me, that's like a whole journey.
Yeah.
Because we tell ourselves that, and we say these things, and we preach these things, and we read about these things, and we write about these things, but the actual doing of the thing is a whole nother thing.
So true. It's so true. Like it can be a journey to
Yep.
really fully accept because then there's also the parts of you where you're like, I'm like me sometimes being adopted, I feel like I got things that are happening in my DNA, and then I feel like I got things that I've been raised with where I'm just like, I am tired of doing all this goddamn work. Period. And I'm gonna need you and you. Like, this is what I really want. I'm like, I need everybody to do their healing so that I'm not the one doing it all, you
Right.
know?
Yes.
But I also realize, well, you chose this. Everything on my birth chart has to do with healing and spirituality. So it's like, got it. Okay.
I
I'll
do
just
it.
go cry.
Okay.
You
Thank you.
know?
This is me.
Period. So, yeah, it could be difficult because of us holding on to the hurt and the harm or the
Yes.
whatever they did and did not do. But
Yes.
it's like, again, tuning back into like, what is your purpose? What
Yes.
is your purpose? Because we literally cannot control anybody else.
Not a
And that
soul.
is an delusion too, you know?
Well,
Especially,
you think about it, they told us that we all have free will, right? So we was all created with free will. So why do we think that, we can control and manipulate people? Probably because it's been done.
yeah. And it's been learned.
Mhm.
Even let's say, oftentimes when I see people talking about like how, Black people hit their kids, I'm like, it's really not that simple. This is from generations of people that were also being controlled in that same way through slavery.
I was
So
going to say, and the thing is too, is it ain't just Black people that hit their kids.
it's exactly,
Everybody hit their kids.
everybody hits their kids and realize where and why. Like, remember, it's coming from people who did it. If
Yeah.
we really start tuning into everyone's epigenetics and how these things are in the DNA, so it's a remembrance that
Because
it's not
how do you even know?
exactly. How do you
I
know
mean,
to
like
do that
it's like,
thing?
how do we know? And I look at it like this, like I had two children that I birthed, and then I raised a third one. And I
Hmm.
whipped him too. But I had, I could tell the difference between the children. Like my daughter, once she got to be, up a size, she hardly ever got a whipping because she did not like that. And so she was
I
compliant.
was,
So she was compliant. Whatever
yeah.
I told her to do, she did. Now my son, completely the opposite. He was the touch the stove one, don't touch that stove. Don't touch that stove. He gonna touch the stove. I mean, that was just him. And he was like that.
Hmm.
And he's still like that, which in a lot of ways I think it has served him because he is so persistent.
What's his zodiac sign? Tropically.
Um, Tropically, he is a Cancer.
Ah, okay. So he might be a Gemini in true sidereal astrology.
He's born
Smart, super
20th
smart.
of June. Yeah, he just got his degree in cybersecurity. He's going
Okay,
to get his master's.
okay. That's definitely a Gemini sun.
Well, he's for
They
sure.
need they need stimulation.
Yeah, he was always that kid. Like I was used to tell people, I said, I kept him in so many things because I knew that about him. I was like, he,
Hmm.
because he'll get sidetracked and be doing shit. So I said, let me, so he played soccer for 7, 8 years and basketball. And I think we did base. No, we had T-ball once. He didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But soccer, basketball, and then he decided he wanted to do plays. And so we did plays like all over
Mm-hmm.
town, you know, just over here, there, everywhere, So I always had to keep him busy. Then
Yeah.
the rap team at church. So they did the praise and worship, and then we worked in the church, So he worked with the whatever the ministries was. I think the camera ministry or whatever, So we did. So I kept that kind of stuff because I
Yeah.
knew this, because I was like, no, 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 because see those kind, if they're left to their own devices, looking like us, they end up in that place that they've created for us,
Yep.
the modern day
Yep.
slave. And so I said, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. you know, even without all of this knowledge, I still knew
Yeah.
that he was a kid that needed to be stimulated
Mm-hmm.
always. And I thank the good Lord every day that I didn't just have him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
I tell people I had almost Irish twins. My kids are 19 months apart.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I had the
Wow.
one and the other one right on top. Yeah.
And then the third one
He came,
went
I got him about 8.
okay, about 8. And then when it came to like, your daughter not wanting to be beat, the son kind of like gonna touch the fire anyway. How was the third one?
I think he's probably in the middle.
Okay.
Like he didn't want to, and he didn't think I would, because I'm not his mother biologically.
Yeah.
I just love him.
Yeah.
But he was appreciative of it because, certain things he got when he came to our house that he wasn't privy to at his own house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also biracial, so that made a difference too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it was like, nah, we don't do that here. Like I had to tell my son, I said, you can do whatever you need to do. I said, but in this house, we get our high school diploma, if nothing else. Now, whatever you decide to do after that is on you, and you can choose that. I said, but the
Mm-hmm.
choice you don't have is getting that. I said,
Yeah.
because we had I think it was a generational curse of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the men, the young men in our family on my mom's side, they were dropping out of high school like 10th grade and 11th grade and crazy crap like that. And I was like, see, no, that is not what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you reprogrammed that pattern.
Well, I had to because I was like, no, we're
Yeah.
not doing that. And
Yeah, I love that.
I said, if you don't get your stuff straight, because he was having some issues, um, my ex-husband and I had split up when he was about
Mhm.
15. So he started acting out and doing crazy stuff. So I told him one day, I said, listen, if those people call me from that school one more time, let me take you where you gonna go. So I took him over to the military school,
Mm,
let him see where that was. I said, because this is your next stop.
mm,
Because I'm not dealing with this. I work too hard and I'm too tired and I'm already having to, deal with all this stuff. And so no, this ain't, so you can go there if
mhm,
that's where you want to go. I think it was called the Will Lou Gray Opportunity School. I said, you can go right on over there. I said, and they'll get you behind, together.
mm.
And yeah, that helped.
I bet it did.
So he graduated. And now he's
Amazing.
trying to get his master's, so I'm like,
Amazing. And what's their zodiac sign?
um, that is the one that you said was Gemini. My
Okay, that was okay.
my daughter's Scorpio. The
Okay,
other one is
Scorpio.
Virgo.
Okay, and Virgo. Ooh, wait a minute. When's the birthday for the Virgo?
September 16th.
Okay. Oh, true Virgo. And what was your zodiac sign again?
Scorpio.
Or your birthday? Sorry, your birthday?
11/1.
11/1. Ooh, okay. So you would be a true sidereal Virgo, which is a master healer.
A Virgo?
Yeah. So for the sidereal dates, it's September 15th until November 3rd for all the Virgos. So there's some Scorpios that are Virgos, all Libras are actually Virgos,
Oh.
true Virgos, and then some Virgos are Leos.
So what about October 1st?
October 1st, that is definitely a Virgo.
I'm sure have to let her know. That's my daughter-in-law. She's October 1st.
Yeah, yep. These are all the Virgo. So some of the energy that I would say is a little different between each of them. So like a Scorpio Virgo could be somebody that likes to alchemize or transmute things, maybe through plant medicine, maybe through transformation. It's kind of like an understanding of death as well as birth, and
Okay.
then using that to also help and heal and serve. And then with like a Libra Virgo, part of their lesson is like not people pleasing because they really do want to serve, but sometimes they're serving from a place of like, I want to be liked instead of I actually like I'm doing this because I want to do this and not because I want to be liked. Because Libra is also about like love and connection, relationships. And because they desire, like they don't want to have to choose, right? Sometimes they're like, oh, I want this and I want that and I want this because it's ruled by Venus. So it's like all of their senses are always activated. They're like, ooh, if I do this thing, then I'll, maybe receive the love that I desire. Well, they need to learn to stop people pleasing so that they could fully show up in the way that they are a service to others through being a master healer. Master healer meaning you've done this another lifetime. So even a true Virgo would probably kind of navigate through things like being critical of themselves, thinking that they're an imposter, that they need to learn more tools in order to serve, or they love courses, or whatever the case is. Maybe they love learning
You are
and learning
speaking to me. Stop it.
learning all these things before they do the thing. And it's like, even me, I kind of say when I'm taking all these courses, because I do say I got a lot of placements in my tropical chart in Virgo. I love me a course, okay? I love learning. I'm
Yes.
ruled by Mercury, so I want to do everything, right?
Yes.
But now I'm kind of starting to even call like my teachers, they're my rememberers because it's stuff that we likely already know. So the lesson for Virgo is to know that that's who they are, that they're whole, that they don't need to be critical of themselves, that they are already perfect, that they are already whole. So to do the damn thing, basically, to
That
show up and do the thing. And then a Virgo Leo would look like somebody who, again, maybe they were very critical of themselves, but like their inner child, their soul in general is asking for them to have a little bit more play and to allow their inner child to express the
is.
way that they truly desire to express, where sometimes Virgo could kind of put a damper or boundaries around their expression, their boldness. A lot of the early September people that are actually Virgos, I find them also to be like the comedians, the people that are on stage, the people that are very like with their language, it's very cutthroat to the point, but with a little fire, if that makes sense.
It does. My
So,
husband is September 5th.
okay. Yeah.
And I
But
always tell him, I said, you missed your calling. Because you need to be, you need to be telling jokes.
yeah, I mean, probably because he might actually have his Mercury sign in Leo, and this is like the Cat Williams, the Kiki Palmer, Zendaya, Beyonce is also a Virgo Leo. Like all these people, if we actually tune into their energy of how they show up,
Yeah,
it's giving Leo,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I love this though. I really do.
I
I
can
love kind
tell
of the
this is amazing, girl. Look here, I'm gonna tell you, just like I told the last guy, I was like, I could talk to you for another hour,
yes.
but it's time for me to go because I need to get food.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so
But
grateful for us to have this conversation.
it's been so amazing. And just, I mean, I'm just grateful that, we were able to connect and do this because I'm sure it's going to help so many people because it helped me just listen just
Mhm,
now. And I'm going to, of course, listen again. But
mhm,
it's going to help so many people because, even the conversation about, finding your way and finding your path and accepting, and allowing and remembering the things because that is really the key. And it's funny because that was exactly what I sent to my sister when I was telling her about, that she could get the job and visualize and stuff. I sent her, she read it to me. She said, you know what you sent me? And I said, what? She said, you sent me, remember who the fuck you are. And I was like, oh my God. And she was like, yeah. She was like, yeah. And girl, we were talking, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, texting.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
was like, yeah, but I mean, this conversation has just been so, I mean, just so real. And I feel like it fed my soul. And so thank you.
Mm, thank you.
It's just been a pleasure. Um, but we're gonna have to land this plane. I do have
Mhm.
one question that I ask all my guests. If there was one thing in the world that you could change, what would that be and why?
Hmm. There was one thing that I could change and why. The one thing I believe that I would change is to, if you are born on this earth, meaning that's everyone who can listen to this podcast, is that all of their basic needs are met in abundance.
Yes.
And
Mm,
the reason why is because we wouldn't be here if that wasn't already an option.
yes. That's powerful. There you have it. That was different than anybody else. You know, I've asked this question on probably about 200 interviews, and every time it's been different. Everybody
Hmm.
has a different, reaction to that. And I'm so grateful, even for that, because that is so powerful. Because you're right. You are so right. Because if you had the abundance that you needed, you could do the work that you were called here to do without struggling with one
Hmm.
about that. And people saying stupid stuff like, well, you're a healer, you're not supposed to charge. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I can't eat my fingers. So
I mean, literally.
neither will I. But so I want you to share if you have anything going on that you're inviting people into, any containers, any retreats, any, whatever you're doing, share that and then let the people know what's the best place that they can connect with you.
Amazing. So the best way to reach me, I do have a website, canaciajames.com. That's KANACIAJAMES.com. I have a few different containers. I have a astrology branding course for you to utilize your birth chart in order to create the brand that is most in alignment to you. And then I have another container called Paint and Portals, and this is where we get to utilize the true sky to see what cycles we are in order to learn how to process that energy. And then we paint. And then I have one more container to work with me in a deeper way, one-on-one, either 1 month, 3 months, or 4 months. And that is called the Perfectly Imperfect Portal.
So nice. That is so nice. I am so super excited for everything that's going on for you. And I cannot wait to see, how you grow and blossom and the work that you're doing, the magic that you're putting on earth. I'm so grateful that I get to witness it.
Thank you so, so much.
You are
Thank
so
you, thank you,
welcome. You're
thank you.
so welcome. So we want to just thank y'all for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah. This has been an amazing show. I am just blown away and I cannot wait to listen again. So I just appreciate, you watching us and just joining us here in this space where, we are changing the planet and doing it our way.
Period.
So good night.
Good night.
You have just finished watching and listening to Canacia James. She is amazing. I love her take on astrology, and her journey was so fulfilling. Absolutely loved it. So, if you are a spiritual entrepreneur and you would like to get your message out, make sure that you send me a message on whatever platform that you are on. Let me know and let's get you signed up on my virtual couch. And then also, if you are looking for some guidance and you are looking for some quick guidance and you're looking for something that is going to share with you what is happening on your journey, you need a little bit of talk therapy. I am opening up phone readings They are $55 and it's a 30-minute reading. And so we talk on the phone and you share your details. I give you what spirit has to give you. And if that is something that is interesting to you, make sure that you send me a message on whatever platform you're listening to. Or if you're on YouTube, go in my details and send me a message on any of those platforms that I'm on. So again, thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah. I hope your day is magical. Bye now.